because of the fierce war of information between Ostania and Westalis. Westalis commences Operation Strix to find out what a key member of the Ostanian government was up to, and Twilight, who could use 100 different faces, was assigned to this mission. The first step was to make a family. The father, Anya Forger, a psychiatrist whose real identity was a spy and has the codename Twilight. The mother, Anya Forger, is a public servant whose real identity is that of an assassin and has the codename Thorn Princess. The daughter, Anya Forger, whose real identity was a telepath who could read minds, and the dog, Bond Forger, have the identity of an Esper dog who can see the future. For each of their own interests, they continued to live together as a family while hiding their real identities. After finishing her assassination mission, Yor had to take a phone call and pretend that she was still at work. Because of this, she was late to notice that one of her targets was still alive and was aiming his gun at her. At the same time, Lloyd was watching the news about the deaths of the Red Circus members, but Anya wanted to watch cartoons instead, feeling bored with the news. However, Lloyd refused, as he thought he could get some information through the public media, but Anya was already in tears, so he had to let her change the channel. While Anya was happily watching Bondman, Yor returned home. However, she had an awful expression, so Lloyd asked if she was sick. Yor said she was fine and she thought she couldn't mention that her butt stings after getting shot by a pistol. Anya read her mind, so she knew what happened, and she asked if Yor would die. Yor told Anya that she wouldn't die, but she also left for her room after saying that she was tired, so she had to rest early, thinking that she would recover after a good night's sleep. Lloyd was nervous. He thought Yor was sulking because he asked her to do groceries, while Anya was just amazed that Yor was still alive after getting shot. Lloyd's thoughts were totally off point, but he hoped Yor's mood would be better the next day. However, Yor's expression was even worse, as her injury didn't get better at all. Since he had no idea about it, Lloyd thought he should cheer her up. He asked her out on a date, saying that it was a token of gratitude for helping with housework and raising Anya. Yor blushed, and then she remembered how her coworkers were intrigued that she had never gone on a date despite being married. She agreed, thinking that it was necessary to hide their fake marriage, and she even rushed to her room to get changed, excited to learn about dating. Lloyd was confused, while Anya wanted to join because she thought dating was exciting, but Lloyd asked her to stay. Lloyd asked Frankie to babysit Anya, and although he complained, saying that he was not a handyman, Lloyd knew that Frankie wanted to develop new spy gadgets, so he gave him a check to shut him up. Afterwards, Lloyd called for the car and immediately opened the door for Yor. He was confident that everything would go well, as he had prepared 862 dating courses. However, Yor didn't want to sit because of her injury, so she asked for a walking date instead, making 792 of Lloyd's dating courses useless. Anya was worried about Lloyd and Yor, so she asked Frankie to follow them with her, and he agreed, thinking that it was exciting. They immediately disguised themselves to avoid Lloyd's notice. Frankie thought Anya's outfit would stand out more, but she was confident that it wasn't a problem. While she left their home's security to Agent Bond, Director Chimera, and Agent Penguin Man, Frankie was looking forward to seeing Lloyd's love techniques, while Anya thought that they were too far, as she couldn't read their minds. However, Lloyd actually noticed them immediately, but he decided to pretend not to notice them for Anya's happiness, and he thought Yor was his priority currently. Lloyd brought her to go shopping first. He praised her style before suggesting that she try on a long pants that he thought would suit her. However, she was certain that her wound would hurt after wearing it, so she sternly refused. Lloyd was surprised, and he immediately apologized, but he brought her to watch in the movie theater next. However, he couldn't understand when she refused to sit while watching. At the same time, Anya fell asleep while watching. While Frankie was in tears because of the movie, they had already forgotten what they came for. Yor refused to sit even at the jazz club and while in the boat. She also refused to get a massage, and the animals at the zoo were intimidated because of her expression. Yor couldn't focus at all because of the pain, while Lloyd didn't know what to do anymore as he thought that he just made her mood worse. Frankie was laughing after seeing Lloyd's dating plan fail, so Anya asked if he was actually a bad guy. But he refuted that it was his right as an unpopular character, so Anya called him pitiful. Lloyd and Yor agreed to go for dinner. This time, Yor couldn't refuse to sit anymore, but she actually pretended instead, and Lloyd was baffled after noticing it. At the same time, Anya and Frankie were stopped from entering the restaurant because of their get-up and Anya's age, so she couldn't do anything but give up. Because of this, Frankie convinced Anya that they should just go home. However, Anya noticed that one of the Red Circus members was nearby. He remembered that Yor was the assassin who attacked them the previous night. Although he was planning to finally have a proper life with his girlfriend, he thought it was fate that he had a chance to take revenge for his fallen comrades. Anya panicked when she realized that the bad guy was inside the restaurant. However, she thought Yor could easily beat the bad guy up. But she panicked again when she thought Lloyd would divorce Yor if he knew she was an assassin, while he would abandon her after. Anya told Frankie that her family was in danger. He was surprised that even though their family was fake, she was really worried about her parents. So he agreed to help her infiltrate the restaurant. After choosing their drinks, Lloyd explained that they would be having puffer fish in their course. At the same time, the Red Circus member squeezed the puffer fish to release its poison, and he disguised it as alcohol before asking the waiter to serve it to Yor. Anya panicked because of this, and she urged Frankie to hurry up on their infiltration. But they were too late, and she could only panic while Yor was drinking the poison. The Red Circus member was satisfied after finally avenging his comrades. However, it was revealed that Yor was actually immune to poison, and she felt much better after the pain from her injury disappeared because of the puffer fish poison. Lloyd was confused because of her sudden mood change, while the thug was confused that Yor didn't die instantly. Afterwards, Yor and Lloyd happily continued their dinner. The thug was enraged that his plan didn't go as intended, and he thought he needed a stronger measure. He thought of crafting a bomb using the tools inside the restaurant storage, and he decided to sacrifice himself for revenge. Because of this, Anya immediately left the air vent, determined to stop the thug from harming her parents. While the thug was on his way to the storage room, all his focus was on the bomb's composition. He planned to make it as lethal as possible. Because of this, he failed to notice that oil was scattered on the floor, so he slipped and hit his head on the shelf. He was confused that olive oil was poured on the floor, but he didn't think further about it and entered the storage room. This time, a tub that was tied to the door dropped on his head. He thought someone was just playing a prank, and when he saw the bottle that dropped with the tub, he thought of using it as a vessel for the bomb. However, it expanded before blowing up and the explosion was heard throughout the restaurant. He was confused by the peanut bomb, and he thought the Thorn Princess was responsible for it. However, he was shocked to see a kid, and he couldn't understand how she knew that he was a Red Circus member. Anya warned him against coming near them again, although she almost revealed her name while doing so. Afterwards, she told him to change for good, and while she was leaving she told him to make Catherine happy. He couldn't believe that she also knew about his girlfriend. He thought that the Thorn Princess was really formidable, as she even has an amazing kid as a comrade, so he gave up on revenge and decided to forget everything to live a normal life. Lloyd was glad that Yor's good mood was back, and he thought he had protected the forger's peace. And Anya thought it was all thanks to her, while Frankie was just curious where she had run off. Yor thanked Lloyd for taking her out on a date, also adding that she had so much fun. Then she asked him to take her on a date again when he liked, although she was hoping that next time she wasn't injured anymore. Lloyd happily agreed, and they planned to visit the amusement park next. Anya couldn't endure hiding anymore after hearing about the amusement park, and she asked Lloyd to bring her as well. The next day, the poison's effect had worn off, so Yor could feel the pain from her injury again. And Lloyd thought that a woman's heart was really complicated after seeing her facial expression. While playing, Anya saw Bond sleeping soundly, and she thought he was the peak of laziness. After waking up, Bond used his precognition ability to peek into the future. First, he just saw himself playing hide and seek with Anya during a blackout. However, the next scene showed how he was killed by a scientist from the lab where he was experimented on. Bond felt despair, but he looked at their family picture, and he looked content when he imagined how they would be saddened by his death. He tried saying goodbye to Anya, but she was busy with her homework, so she closed the door after saying that she didn't have time to play. Because of this, he went to Yor instead. Yor told him that he ran out of food and Lloyd would be late, so she would be preparing his food. He realized that if he ate the food she prepared, it would cause his death instead, and if he tried to refuse to eat and upset Yor, he would be dead as well. He thought it was over, and he tried to tell her that he didn't want to eat yet, but Yor only wondered if he was sick. While panicking, Bond realized that if Lloyd arrived early, he would be preparing his food and he could survive. He thought he should help Lloyd finish his work early. He was determined to survive, so he immediately left and looked for Lloyd. Bond tried to find Lloyd through his scent, but he actually ended up following the scent of hot dogs and arrived in front of the stand instead. However, he thought that Yor would kill him for getting food elsewhere, so he panicked and continued looking for Lloyd. He was almost hit by a car and ended up getting chased by kids, but he still failed to find Lloyd. However, he didn't give up. He almost got into a fight and got ignored by a female dog, but when he climbed up a clock tower, he managed to track Lloyd's scent. Lloyd's current mission was to obtain a sample of Jerulimus, a truth serum being developed by Berlint Industries. Because he wasn't given enough time to gather information and disguise himself, the option left was to force his way in. However, Bond suddenly showed up behind him. He didn't know what was going on, but he immediately asked Bond to go back home. Bond tried to explain his predicament, but Lloyd thought he just wanted to play, so he ran towards the enemy base and tried to lead Lloyd to a safe path instead. Lloyd immediately realized this, but he thought Bond was trying to get revenge for his friends who were experimented on. He thought Bond's bark was a confirmation, and he decided to rely on Bond's nose to make up for his lack of intel. The two easily hide themselves from everyone's attention. And although Bond tried to steal a hamburger on the way, the duo managed to sneak into the lab where Jerulimus was stored. However, Lloyd was troubled. He didn't have enough time to go through all the safes to find the serum. Bond saw through his precognition how the enemies found them, and because of this, Lloyd had to spend so much time dealing with them, and he ended up eating the food you're prepared. Bond immediately informed Lloyd about the approaching enemies. The scientists were ordered to return to the lab after their chief found a defect. Although they were annoyed, they didn't have a choice but to obey. They were confused when the door was unlocked, and they panicked when they saw a note saying that Jerulimus was stolen, so one of them immediately checked the safe containing it. They sighed in relief after seeing that it was still there. However, Lloyd and Bond pounced from behind to knock them unconscious. Lloyd thanked Bond since he finished his work early because of him, while Bond saw himself happily eating the food prepared by Lloyd through his precognition. Bond was in tears, overjoyed that his life was safe, although Lloyd thought that he was happy to get payback on Berlint Industries. The next day, inside the school dormitory, Emil and Ewan tried to wake Damian up for the roll call, but he was still late, so Master Henderson assigned him to help the dorm mother as a punishment. Although it was rare, Master Henderson thought it was not elegant to live a slovenly lifestyle. Damian apologized and promised to be more careful. Emil and Ewan asked if he was up late studying again, and Damian confirmed this by saying that he needed to hurry up and earn more Stellas. Ewan thought he was working too hard, so they invited him to come with them and the teachers to watch a movie and eat some roast beef. However, Damian refused to join, saying that he would be studying in his room, even though it was their day off. Damian saw the other kids who were excited to watch the movie. He thought he was different. He wanted to work hard and rise to the top to receive his father's praise. The dorm mother asked Ewan and Emil to leave, reminding them that it was Damian's penalty. However, they started to not dress properly and eat in front of Master Henderson to get the same punishment. The two happily thanked Master Henderson before leaving to join Damian. Damian tried to chase them away, but the two refused, saying that it was better to do the laundry than to watch a movie in the middle of a beautiful day. Damian was confused, but he got excited when Ewan used a blanket as a cape and played as an Imperial Scholar. And Damian also wanted the cape, so he chased Ewan around. Master Henderson saw everything, and he thought that the trio's friendship was preciously elegant. After doing the laundry, Master Henderson told the trio that they would receive a new punishment for messing around while working. But he actually just made them go on a field research trip with Mr. Green. The trio rowed a boat with Mr. Green while going down the river. The kids were scared for their lives, but Mr. Green thought that it was fun, and he ensured the kids that they would be safe because he used to be in the Navy, so they could just relax in the boat. The kids continued to panic. They saw a waterfall in front of them, but Mr. Green still refused to stop or slow down the boat. Because of the fall, Damian was thrown out of the boat, and he immediately asked for help. Emil and Ewan didn't hesitate to save him, but they didn't know how to swim as well, and although they were scared for their lives, they wanted to save Damian before themselves. However, the water was actually shallow enough that it barely reached their waist, while the strong currents were just coming from Mr. Green's paddling, so they blushed in embarrassment. While hanging their clothes, Mr. Green told the kids to look for some firewood, and they gathered around the fire to warm themselves and avoid catching colds. Emil mentioned that he was hungry, so Mr. Green told them he would get some string and a net that they would use for fishing. The kids were surprised that they didn't have any sandwiches or something, but they stopped complaining when Mr. Green helped them prepare their fishing rods, and they started to have fun instead. Afterwards, they looked for worms that they could use as bait, and when Emil and Ewan found out that Damian was scared of worms, they immediately chased after him while bringing the worms, so they ended up receiving a smack in the head. It didn't take long before a fish took their bait, and the trio cooperated to catch it. Mr. Green helped them cook the fish they caught. The trio was surprised by how good it was, so Mr. Green explained that nothing beats the prey they caught, even compared to a roast beef from a fancy restaurant. However, Damian suddenly thought that he shouldn't be having fun while the other kids were studying. Mr. Green knew what Damian was thinking. He told him that relaxing and spacing out weren't half bad. But Damian said that he wouldn't become an Imperial Scholar by just spacing out. Mr. Green explained that recent studies suggest that spacing out revitalizes the brain, so famous creators and athletes give themselves time to space out, and he added that while spacing out, Damian might even get 8 Stellas before he knew it. Ewan and Emil thought it was impossible, but Damian actually tried to force himself to space out, so they thought he was actually simple-minded. After packing their stuff, Mr. Green told the trio that he would bring them to Stella Lake. Damian was excited about it, so they thought he was too obsessed with Stellas. While walking, Mr. Green told the trio that people who had defected to the West recently were actually using the word picnic as a code. Damian got scared, but they started to wonder why people would actually go to the West. However, they thought that Damian would certainly make Ostania a better place once he grew up and became a politician. Mr. Green asked if it was Damian's dream, and he thought it was admirable, so Damian said that it was because his father is a politician. Ewan also mentioned his dream, saying that he wants to be a cosmonaut, while Emil said that he wants to live his life eating a lot of snacks. At the same time, they arrived at Stella Lake. The kids were amazed by its beauty. They thought that the stars reflecting on the water looked exactly like the universe. Mr. Green played with the water, saying that it looked like they were grabbing the stars. Damian thought it was lame, but when Mr. Green asked him if they wasted their time going to the lake, Damian said no, before saying that it was beautiful. Then the kids lay on the ground to watch the beautiful night sky. Emil was still thinking about food. He thought the stars looked like sugar, so Damian couldn't hold his laughter. However, Mr. Green said that they had to go back, and he didn't forget to make them write a report about their trip. Master Henderson thought it was elegant when Damian wrote in his report that he had fun, although he also noticed that Damian had to work on his spelling. A group of people entered a room to conduct some business, and Yuri was observing their every move. Because of the way they avoid staying close to doors and windows, Yuri could tell that they were professionals. And right after they closed their deal, he informed his superiors so they could finally make their move. The first lieutenant introduced themselves as part of the state security service before telling the spies that they were under arrest. One of the spies refused to surrender and escaped through the window. However, Yuri was already waiting outside to subdue him, not giving him any chance to fire his gun. And Yuri had a creepy smile while arresting the spy. Yuri received some praise for his work, and he was given his next mission right away. He had to follow Franklin Perkin and get some evidence that he was responsible for selling various books and conspiracy articles in the West that mocked and slandered Ostania. Yuri was also tasked with tracking down his buyers so they could stop the spread of these conspiracies before they influenced public opinion. The first lieutenant thought that they were giving Yuri too much work. However, Yuri couldn't stand that a filth like Franklin was breathing the same air as his sister, so he wanted to finish this job. Yuri started observing Franklin the next morning. He recorded the time he woke up, how he cursed at the newscaster, the time he left for the office, and even his attire. Yuri recorded all of Franklin's activities for the day while outside. And when he was back home, all the shows he watched were also listed. The first lieutenant thought that Yuri didn't hold back on the details, but he suggested that he go get some rest first as he had been working for 2 days without sleep. Yuri refused, and he even handed over the report for the next day. However, the first lieutenant noticed that Yuri was already getting Yuri's name mixed up in his report, so he told Yuri to get some rest. However, they noticed that someone was looking for Franklin. It was the landlady, who was asking him to pay the rent that he was late on. Franklin promised to pay the next day after the following day, but the landlady warned him that she would throw them out if he was lying again. Franklin immediately retrieved his coat and informed his father that he was going out, while Yuri and the first lieutenant prepared to tail him. Franklin kept looking around while walking through the streets. Yuri wondered if he was cautious of anyone following, but the first lieutenant was certain that he's looking for something to write in his article. Franklin took a picture of a protest and people drinking in the streets. However, he thought none of it was decent, and when he saw kids playing happily as spies, he threw the kids' toy gun in the trash, and when they tried to retrieve it, he made it look like they were kids living in poverty and looking for scraps in the trash. The kids were upset, and they warned him that they would call the police on him. However, he threatened them that they were the ones who would be arrested and killed for not sharing their wealth. Yuri was enraged, and he wanted to kill Franklin, but the first lieutenant stopped and reminded him that they had to let him go until they found out who was buying his underground publications. Franklin immediately wrote an article after returning home, and he was certain that it would be entertaining for some people. However, Yuri noticed that someone was coming. It was Franklin's father, and he warned him against his dangerous work. He also thought that Franklin would have kept his job at the paper if not for his strong sense of justice. Franklin refuted that he just tried to improve the country where his family was living. He was upset that they barely had money for their poor living situation, and he thought he wouldn't have lost his mother if they had money. Yuri wrote in his report that Franklin might be motivated by his concern for his family, but he immediately scrapped it. Yuri continued to follow Franklin. He concluded that Franklin was using the post office where he was working to sell the articles, and it was confirmed when Franklin boldly included his article in the letters that had already passed inspection to mail it to his buyers. It was the evidence Yuri needed to finally arrest him and track the article buyers. After a few days, Franklin informed his father before heading out for work. However, he saw state security service officers waiting outside his apartment, and Yuri was leading them. Franklin's face was filled with disbelief, but he accepted his fate and apologized to his father, saying that he wouldn't be back for a while. Yuri took out the article that Franklin had mailed, saying that they'd already captured the buyers as well. Franklin mocked Yuri for waiting outside instead of forcing their way into the apartment to capture him. Yuri refuted that he just didn't want Franklin's family to witness how pathetic he was. Franklin argued that what's pathetic is to become the government's dog. But Yuri declared that he would never make his family sad, and Franklin could only remain silent after hearing this. However, Yuri informed Franklin that he would request that his father receive some financial help to get by, and Franklin was grateful for it. The chief praised Yuri for his excellent work again, but he showed his concern for him, knowing how difficult and stressful his work was. However, Yuri thought that he was well suited for the job, and he even declared that he would capture Twilight to protect the peace of their nation. The chief was glad after hearing it. He hopes it happens, and he also promised to treat Yuri to a good meal sometime. After his duty, Yuri decided to visit Yor. She was surprised that he visited so late, but Yuri just happily greeted her. However, he was pissed when Lloyd showed up to greet him as well. At the same time, Yor asked if something had happened. Yuri told her that he just felt like seeing her, but Anya read his mind, so she gave him a pat to console him, although he didn't understand what she was trying to do. However, he was overjoyed when Yor patted his head while praising him for working hard. But Anya felt like vomiting while reading his mind. While on a mission, Bondman wanted to sacrifice himself to let his partner escape. However, she refused to leave, so Bondman had to force their way out using a car, and she fell in love with him after escaping safely. A spy from the opposing country wanted to kill Bondman, but she also fell in love with him after he managed to get their countries to sign a peace treaty with each other. Another lady asked for Bondman's help because her father was making a bomb to destroy the world, but she also fell in love with him after he stopped her father. Afterwards, he seduced a female terrorist who was trying to kill him. Then he asked the leader of an evil organization on a date, and even his pretty landlady didn't escape his grasp. However, the ladies finally started to ask him to pick one among them, and when he wanted to choose all of them, they tried killing him in all kinds of ways. Anya seriously watched this episode of Bondman. She thought this was what a flirting story was like, and she wanted to discuss it with Becky and become an adult, although Lloyd tried to stop her. While in the department store, Anya asked to ride on a toy polar bear. Lloyd couldn't understand what was fun about it. He thought it just looked like a corrective device made by an authoritarian regime to steal the emotions of its passengers. But Anya started crying, still asking to ride it, so Yor convinced him to let Anya ride it. After watching Anya go back and forth while riding it, Lloyd asked if she had fun, and he thought he couldn't understand children at all when she happily said that she had to ride it again. After seeing other people enjoying the beach on television, Anya told Lloyd that he wanted to go to the ocean. Lloyd told her that they couldn't go to the ocean, so he's bringing her to the pool instead. Anya excitedly entered the pool, so Yor was glad that she was having fun. However, because she could read everyone's mind, she found out that the other kids were peeing at the pool. After returning home, Anya sulked in the corner while saying that she'd never return to the pool again, so Lloyd thought that he really couldn't understand children. The next morning, inside the school dorm, Emil and Ewan immediately tried to wake Damian up after they got up. However, they were surprised when he came back after reviewing, saying that his oversleeping the previous week was just by chance. Meanwhile, Anya was still sleeping soundly even when Lloyd was holding the alarm close to her while shaking her bed. Lloyd panicked as the bus would arrive in 10 minutes to pick her up, but Anya was still dreaming, saying that she still had 10 minutes to stop the explosion. Anya was late for school, and Lloyd was worried that she would get a tonitrus bolt. In Stella Academy, a mysterious pastry chef would serve the pastry of knowledge out of nowhere in the school cafeteria. Not only is it delicious, but many students who tasted it ended up as Imperial Scholars, so it was assumed that eating it would make you instantly smarter, and some students do everything to get a chance to order it. Anya and Becky were using sheep stuffed toys to play as prince and princess, although Anya wanted to use them to play a battle story instead. Becky refused as she didn't want the stuffed toys to be torn up. And instead, she asked Anya if she knew that next term they would be split up based on their grades. Anya didn't understand it, so Becky explained that she would be in the OK class while Anya would be in the needs effort class. Anya panicked, as she didn't want to be alone, so Becky asked her to work harder, especially on their coming exams. But Anya thought that it was all over for her. At the same time, another student mentioned the pastry of knowledge, which is known for making everyone who eats it an Imperial Scholar, had appeared in the cafeteria. Anya and Becky were shocked, while the students immediately ran to the cafeteria. Anya and Becky looked at each other, but they immediately ran towards the cafeteria as well. Anya thought that it was her chance to be a genius, while Becky thought it was just a rumor, and she just wanted to try the macaroons made by a royal chef. Anya had no idea what a macaroon was. The duo could finally see where they could buy the pastry. However, Damian's group showed up while rushing to the cafeteria as well, and while they were bickering, the chef announced that there was only one order left. They were determined to get ahead of each other, but George got it before any of them. Damian and Becky asked him to hand over the pastries, so George screamed that he was being mugged before refusing. Damian reminded him that he never returned his pen, while Becky complained that she was forced to sing because of him, so George decided to give them 4 of the macaroons to get even. However, it wasn't enough for the 5 of them, so they decided to play a round of Old Maid to see who would miss out on the macaroons. All of them agreed, although Becky had to teach Anya how it works first. Damian thought that the pastry of knowledge would be wasted on Anya, so he worked with Emil to make Anya take the Joker card. Anya was still confused about the rules, so she told everyone the cards she had, and Damian thought that she was really a fool. However, since she could read their minds, she got all the cards she needed and won the game easily. Ewan thought Anya cheated, while Damian thought that she could read minds if she didn't. Anya realized she went too far, and she agreed to play again. Damian decided to change the set of cards and orders, also warning Anya against cheating again. Anya thought it was really close, and she decided to mess up on purpose this time, so her powers wouldn't be discovered. Anya pretended to mess up when she picked the Joker card on purpose, but they called her a moron because of this. Anya was pissed, and she thought it was time to use her killer punch, but Becky knew what she was thinking, so she immediately stopped her. Anya remembered that her father's mission was over if she got expelled, so she calmed down and tried to act like a cool liar similar to her father to win the game. However, Damian could actually tell which card was the Joker because of Anya's expressions, and she even wondered if Damian could actually read minds as well. Anya couldn't get rid of the Joker, while Damian was actually bad with the game as well, so the two of them were left playing. Anya thought that she would stay dumb if she couldn't eat the macaroons, and she would be alone if Becky was in a different class, while Damian was certain of his victory since he could easily predict the card based on her expression. However, when he saw that Anya was already in tears, he decided to lose the game on purpose. Anya was happy and excited to eat the macaroon, but she noticed that Damian was thinking that she was unfair. She offered to share the macaroon with him. Damian blushed, but he refused, saying that he could become an Imperial Scholar even without it, and Anya needed it because she was stupid. Becky thought he was rude, so she told Anya to just ignore him and just eat the macaroon. After eating it, Anya was suddenly bursting with energy. She was full of energy while studying at home and inside the school, and it was the same when she started answering her quizzes. However, she still got low scores on all of her subjects. Anya thought it was now certain that she would be alone and that the rest of her school life would be dark, but Becky urged her to do her best on their finals. Anya went to her room to sulk, while Yor thought that the exams were really difficult. Lloyd noticed that Anya had improved a little, and he was surprised when he noticed that she would have gotten a high score on ancient language if not for her wrong spellings, so he wondered if she learned it from where she grew up. Afterwards, Lloyd made a hamburg steak to cheer up Anya, while Yor made some dessert, so Bond was worried for his life again. Lloyd came to Frankie to get a fake ID and information for his mission. Then he also asked for visual data on a specific group. However, Frankie told him that he would have to wait as his contact has been offed. Lloyd asked if the state security services were responsible for it, but Frankie explained that Garden was behind it, which is the group of assassins that existed for ages and were responsible for eliminating traitors under the shadow government's orders. Lloyd thought they were just a normal militia, but Frankie explained that a single assassin could take down a whole squad. Lloyd still thought that it was ridiculous, and then he left. However, Frankie stopped him and asked for his help to look for a cat in exchange for his extra labor. He explained that the cat named Kopi belonged to Casey, and she was super sad because he was missing, so he wanted to find the cat to bring her smile back while also trying to get closer to her. However, Lloyd still left, regardless of what he said. He thought Lloyd was heartless, but he was still determined to find the cat even alone. Frankie called all of his contacts to have them look for the cat as well, so he immediately found out that the cat was seen near the city hall. While trying to find the cat, he ran into Yor, who was on her lunch break, and when he explained about the cat, Yor immediately offered to help look for it. She was determined to help, as she thought that Frankie was one of her husband's friends. Frankie was surprised that she was keeping the husband and wife act all the time, but he didn't refuse her help. To look for Kopi, Frankie scattered cat-looking wiretaps that would react to Kopi's bell. Yor was amazed. However, the other cats actually started destroying his gadget, so he immediately lost signal on all of it. Frankie realized that the cats thought that his gadget was an outsider, while Yor thought that the world of cats was also cruel. Afterwards, Frankie took out an equipment that would spread the smell of catnip to attract the cats to their location. Yor thought that he was really talented, and she asked if Frankie was a craftsman. To hide his shady work, Frankie told her that he was just an inventor trying to make the world better with his inventions. At the same time, they noticed countless cats running in their direction. Yor tried to look for Kopi, but the cats started jumping on her. Frankie found him behind the surrounding cats, so he immediately took out another gadget to catch him. However, Kopi easily dodged, so he took out a net launcher disguised as a camera. Because of the launcher's short range, Frankie tried to get close to Kopi, but he got tired running after him before he could get close enough. Frankie was pissed, so he decided to take out his ultimate weapon, which is an armored suit that would give him superhuman powers. But it takes 15 minutes to warm up and start the suit, so he was planted in place while Kopi was running towards the major street for vehicles. However, Yor tore down the back of his armor and threw it to Kopi to stop him from reaching the major street. Kopi was shocked, and he was frozen in place when he saw Yor pounce from behind him before catching him. Yor was happily talking to Kopi, but he was still frozen in fear, while Frankie thought that the armor that was the fruit of 10 years of his hard work was gone. However, he told himself that it was a small price to pay if Casey would look his way. Casey was really thankful for Frankie's help in finding Kopi. At the same time, her partner showed up to stop her from crying. Frankie was speechless for a moment, but he told the couple that he would be going. Casey thanked him again as he walked away, while he wished that they would live happily ever after. However, after entering an alley, he started crying and decided to just live for his job. At the same time, Yor's coworkers noticed that she was in a happy mood. They thought that she had received a gift from her husband, and they also told her that she was finally being normal. Yor was glad to hear it, although her coworker was actually being sarcastic. Afterwards, their superior told Yor that she got a phone call, and the man told her that it was from her usual client. Yor answered the phone while saying her name, and the man on the other side told her that she got a customer while calling her Thorn Princess. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy this video, and please subscribe so you won't miss the next part. And just comment down any anime you want to see in this channel.